Hey everybody, how you doing? I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, and I'm here with my homegrown, my partner in crime, Miss Yvette Carnell. What's going on, Yvette?
Not much. What's going on with you?
Not much. We haven't had a chance to talk in a while, so I called you up, and just so y'all know, I hunt Yvette down, and I say, we haven't talked for a while. We need to talk. We need to talk. And so Yvette, over at breakingbrown.com, she's always setting the world on fire, and I think this is interesting, to see what Yvette has to say during a political year or a presidential year, whatever you want to call this. And so Yvette has been, you brought up a story recently about the Clintons, and you said that
Mm.
they recently said some things that were pretty, what's the word, disturbing about President
I
Obama.
think that disturbing for Black people, I suppose.
Really, it really was. So what happened? What's going on with the Clintons?
Well, it's not necessarily disturbing for me. It was. Let me just frame it. Yesterday, Bill Clinton said something that he's backtracked from. Now he said he talked about the awful years, and he talked about Obama's awful years. These last few years of the Obama administration. He talked about the Republican administration before that. And when they asked him about it, he said, "Well, I actually wasn't talking about that. I was talking about the Republican obstructionism during that years. I wasn't talking about Obama's years in terms of them being awful." But
Mm,
when you put that side by side with what Hillary Clinton said yesterday, uh, when she got before APAC, she said something about inviting Bibi Netanyahu to the White House, which was kind of dig at Obama, who has a tense relationship with the Israeli Prime Minister. So you look at it, and that what strikes me is how much this is in contrast. This is in really stark contrast, right, to what the Clintons were saying, or what Hillary Clinton especially was saying about Bill Clinton, about Barack Obama when she was trying to win. When she was trying to win the black votes in the South, when she was trying to win South Carolina and Georgia and all of that, she was, oh, Bernie Sanders is so awful that you said these things about, Obama, because I would expect that from a Republican, not a fellow Democrat. And I celebrate Obama and what he's done and blah, 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 blah. So it's just like, it's almost like Hillary Clinton, used black people for a little while, and the Clintons as a team, as a political team that they've always been, used black people for a little while, and now, hey, we've gotten those black votes. We're not gonna win the South anyway. We're not gonna win South Carolina. We're not gonna win Georgia. So we move on to those working class white people, and we're gonna kind of throw your first black president under the bus, which I don't mind because I'm not an Obama fan myself. But it just kind of shows, even though Bill Clinton says he misspoke, and that's not what I mean. I think sometimes what do they say about when a politician, says a gaffe? It's really just him telling the truth. I think he may
mm,
have just had a little slip of the tongue, and I really do think he probably believes that, Hillary Clinton would have done it so much better. She would have been so much tougher. She knows the ropes. This guy Obama was naive or whatever, whatever. But it was just a teachable. It was just instructive to me in terms of how the Clintons view, the African American community or
mm.
voter.
Well, can Hillary still be successful in her run for president without throwing Barack under the bus? I mean, how does she benefit by throwing Obama under the bus?
I think she's going to benefit by throwing up Obama under the bus by getting white people who are disappointed in Obama, whether they
Mm,
be conservative, middle voters, everything else. And I think what Democrats understand, and this is something that they wrote about when they formed the DLC. They basically said that the black vote is a captured vote, and they wrote that
mm,
in the memo. They said the black vote is a captured vote. We can disidentify with black people because they can't go nowhere. Where they gonna go? They're gonna go to Republicans, so they can't go nowhere. So we can do what
mm,
we want to do. We can do the whole soldier soldier stuff. We can throw Lonnie Guinier under the bus. We can do what we want to because they got nowhere to go. So I think what she'll do is kind of throw Obama under the bus and talk in such a way that wins those Reagan white voters over. And then when election time comes out, she'll rally the troops again to get us out in big numbers so that she can get the White House. Now, will she get those numbers? I don't know, because from what I'm hearing, Hillary Clinton needs numbers in line with, what Obama got,
mm.
in 2008. I don't know if that's going to happen. But, when you look at the fear factor that they're trying to kind of spread of Trump, oh my God, Trump is the devil. He's Hitler. That might kind of push some black people to the polls in numbers that they wouldn't necessarily come out for Hillary. But at this point, I really can't call it.
Mm. That's so interesting. So with black people being a captured vote, or being described as a captured vote. Now, where was this written? You said in the D.
That was I'll find it for you. That was a memo in the DLC when they formed the DLC, like in the 90s. When they formed that, that was the DLC was a way, people who don't know, that was a way for you had Democrats who had who had lost to Reagan and were tired of losing and all that other stuff. And you had the whole, we looking at the Mondale, but we looking at a lot of bad stuff that happened to Democrats in terms of losing the elections and Mondale and all kinds of stuff. So what they basically said is that we have to become Republicans. And there's nothing wrong with us becoming Republicans or Republican light or being like Republicans in terms of their posture, because we're not going to lose black people anyway. So it's not like, before we have to, we're really going to lose liberals, but we're certainly not going to lose black people. They have nowhere to go. So we're going to move further to the right and win over these Reagan Democrats. And that's what we're going to do. And so that's what they did. You had people like Sam Nunn, a centrist Democrat of Georgia. You had people like, Zell Miller, also Georgia. You had all these people coming together saying, listen, we got to move away from all this black stuff, because they did studies and they went to white communities, and some of these white communities, they told them, like, listen, the black people are the problem. They're taking our jobs. They're doing this. They're doing that. And they said, basically, well, we have to disidentify with black people. We have to move away from black people and move back to mainstream America. And when you hear anybody talk about mainstream America, they ain't talking about black people. They talking about suburban, middle class, white people. Mainstream America doesn't describe you. When they talk about black people, they're talking about urban America.
So should black people be offended by this? I mean, if I go to black people and I say, this is what they think about you, we've got to change our strategy. I mean, does it make sense for us as black people to just ignore this kind of behavior, this perception by the Democrats, or do we actually do something about this? And what can we do you think?
Well, this is what I tell black people. It's not even about having some type of emotional response, right? I think sometimes we're too emotional in our responses. I don't really care what you think about me. My whole problem is your policies. So when I look back at Bill Clinton's policies, they were detrimental to black people, more detrimental than a lot of Republican policies have been to black people. So my thing is, you have to prove to the Democrats that you're not captured. Some people said to me, well, Yvette, I thought you were going to support anybody, Why did you say that you support Sanders? Well, because I want black people to prove that we're not captured. That was my whole thing. Like, throw your support behind somebody other than Hillary to show people that, listen, I don't have to throw my support behind the Clinton. Why? You didn't do anything for me. Why should I just vote for you because you're familiar or because your husband was the quote unquote first black president? It doesn't make sense to me. So I think we have to find a way to prove that we're not captured. Now, whether that means voting for Bernie for some people or voting third party, it doesn't matter to me, or whether some people want to vote Republican. My thing is showing the Democratic Party that you would rather them lose, honestly, for me, than to continue to be a captured group where you can just kind of do whatever you want to do and we're not going to go anywhere. You don't see that from anybody else. It's very interesting. When you look at our Latino brothers and sisters, I remember this like it was yesterday. Representative Gutierrez came on TV and came on like CNN, and he said something to the effect of, if Obama doesn't stop all these, deportations of people, I don't know how I can tell my constituents that they should vote for him, come November. And here's this guy, and he's talking a lot about undocumented immigrants, who they aren't citizens. But he's still standing up for these people, and he's still saying, you know what, this is my constituency. This is my demographic. And if you don't support these people, then they're going to walk. And you don't have anything like that among the black misleadership functionaries. They don't do that. What they say and do is about them, because really what they own and what they have is in direct proportion of their relationship to white power. So I can't say anything about Hillary Clinton because I'm waiting for the crumbs to fall from the table. When she gets on, hopefully I'm gonna get something. I'm gonna get a little piece of something. So our black misleadership functionaries can't say anything, and it's not just in terms of our politicians. That's part of it. We got the preachers. You got people in sororities and fraternities who work in DC, and they say something like, oh, come home. Oh, Hillary Clinton is gonna do good, and she did a good job. I'm like, no, boo, that's because you getting hooked up. You getting hooked up, frat. You getting hooked up, soror. You ain't got nothing to do with me. You don't care about black poor people. This is because you are getting deals. You are getting income. You are getting things, but you're not really passing that down. That's not trickling down to poor black people. So don't talk to me about this as if this is some type of group effort.
Wow. Well, I think this is really interesting. I would almost argue that we could benefit in an election in which we allow the Republicans to win one, to get the Democrats to earn our vote back, right? Because studies show that black people don't do better under under Democratic administrations or Republican. We really don't. So, given that it doesn't matter very much, why not have one situation where black people just say, I think I'm gonna stay home, or I'm gonna vote third party, or I'm gonna do something else, and then let the Democrats lose, and then the Democrats sit back and they have to go back to the drawing board to say, how do we get black people back to the polls? But also I would say that it's just deeply disturbing to kind of sort of see this dynamic in that it does seem that we have this fear of kind of challenging these long held notions of what the Democratic Party is supposed to mean to us. Even though this brainwashing is such contradiction to the evidence.
Yeah.
It's sort of like it's like wow. But I want to ask you a question about this issue. You know, okay, Donald Trump is causing a lot of chaos in the Republican Party, right? You see where the Republicans are dropping nuclear bombs on his campaign to try to take him out. The party's in such disarray. It's hard to imagine the Republicans rallying together and winning this election. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, do you think the Republicans have literally just chopped their knees off so badly that they won't be able to win the White House for another 20 years or so?
I don't think so at all. I don't think so at all. I think the Republican Party and the Democratic Party are both imploding. I just think
Mm,
the Democratic Party is imploding a lot slower than the Republican Party. Because I wouldn't have thought a few years ago that I would see, Bernie Sanders, a Democratic socialist, gaining steam on the left. So I think both parties are imploding. Both groups are realizing slowly but surely that we don't want these establishment candidates. And it's very interesting to me that white working class people who are still better off than black poor people are basically rioting in the reporting Republican Party and saying we don't want what you got. We don't want what you're selling us. We understand that there's something wrong, even though they don't really understand the cause of what's wrong. They understand something's wrong and they want something different. That's very different than what black people are doing in terms of voting for the status quo candidate and voting for the standard candidate who is further to the right. Which makes no sense to me because you need redistribution. That's something that we need. We need that. We can use that class-based politics, but we're not voting for it. So I don't think the Republican Party is going. What you're seeing is like this populist, sort of upheaval.
mm,
And what they're going to do is that they're going to have to, in the future, present Trumps. They can't continue to produce these cookie cutter candidates, right? They can't
mm,
do that because the people have kind of woken up and saying we don't really want that anymore. That's not what we want anymore. We don't want this person that you're giving us who's just going to talk. We don't want Mitt Romney who's like some kind of drone. Like we don't want that. We want somebody who's real. We want somebody who speaks to us in a language that we understand and who can tell the press, go screw yourself. I don't care, whatever.
mm,
So some of what Trump is saying, they understand. They understand that Trump talks about trade. Trump talks about NAFTA, which is something that the Clintons were in favor of, and Trump has basically said, this may not have been the best deal, that sort of thing. You hear Trump talking about immigration in a way that Republicans understand. They feel that immigrants, Mexican American immigrants, drive down wages. So Trump is saying what these people want to hear. And for me, in terms of how I feel about Trump, I feel that Trump is basically saying to my face what most Republicans and Democrats say behind my back. You know,
mm.
you know what I mean? And that's kind of how I feel about him. But I don't think the Republicans have ruined their chance. I think they have to have a different kind of candidate. And I think people who are kind of poking fun and laughing at the Republicans really don't understand what's also happening in the Democratic Party, just at a slower rate.
Mm. Wow, it was great information. You were the teacher, I was a student because I'm definitely thinking about my own perception and all of this, and I know you've been following this very very closely, and I followed it in my own way as well, and I definitely think that that I predict that the Democrats are going to win the White House. I think it's going to be Hillary. I think that the establishment has pretty much
Yeah,
locked it
rather.
in so that they're going to get what they want, which really again is yet another reason to have little faith in the political system. And then I think for the question to me is whether after this whole Trump fiasco, are the Republicans going to try to get their act together and come up with, as you mentioned, better candidates and a better strategy, or are they going to just repeat the same thing over and over again? Because I don't know. I've seen scenarios where
Hmm.
where organizations have just refused to adjust, to the times or whatever. And I feel like the Republicans, I feel like they saw this coming 9 years ago, but they had failed to move, and that's why you have this thing happening now. Well, thank you, Yvette. I appreciate your time. All right. Well, everybody, this is Miss Yvette Carnell at BreakingBrown.com. She has an awesome website. You can make donations at the website. Make a donation. Don't be cheap. Support support independent journalism. Yvette is the best political commentator and analyst in the country, hands down, in my opinion. There's nobody I see on TV. I don't give Yvette comments or compliments in person or in private.
No.
Yeah, so that's why she's taken aback. Well, she's the best. I mean, you are. You're better. You know, everybody I see on these shows, they just don't have that edge that you have, and I want to acknowledge that. So go check out BreakingBrown.com. It'll be unlike any other platform you've ever seen. And me, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World. And don't forget, we are on the Black Economic Empowerment Tour. We're going to Chicago March 26th. We're going to Houston March 31st. We're going to Baltimore April 28th. And we're actually about to sign our deal to go to Memphis and a bunch of other cities. So you can find out more at thedrboycewatkinstour.com. That's thedrboycewatkinstour.com. So until we meet again, please stay strong, be blessed, and be educated. We are gone. Peace.